Have you ever watched a professional boxer and wondered how they integrate offense and defense so effortlessly? Everything they do seems to like flow together. Every punch they throw, every defense they use, they seem to flow from one to the other. Now, this is called the flow of boxing, and in this video, I'm going to teach you how to have it yourself. Before we get started, make sure you leave a like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more brilliant videos like this. Once you've mastered the basics, you've learned how to throw punches and do all the defenses, whether they're hand defenses, foot defenses, trunk defenses. You'll need to integrate these two together, as I said at the start of the video. And you do this by thinking about the rotation of your body. If I throw a cross, I'm rotating my hips to throw that cross. And then when I bring the cross back, I rotate my body into the original position. And off this rotation can follow a left hook, for example, and then I could throw another right off this rotation, and then I could slip off that rotation, and I could roll back the other way. Now you can see that every single one of these punches, every one of these punches and defenses come off one another. A general rule of thumb is everything flows from left to right to left to right again. So if I throw a left punch, it will be followed with a right punch. My hips are rotating from left to right. However, we can mix this up and throw two left punches in a row. For example, I could throw a left hook and I'd throw another left hook. But to be able to throw those two punches in a row, I need to have finished the left hook, my hips are in this position, and then I need to rotate as if I threw a backhand, but without throwing it, and then come back the other way. So it doesn't matter whether it's a punch or a defense, or I'm doubling up on the same shot, my hips will always rotate from here to here to here, no matter what movement I'm doing. Here's a couple examples of how your punches and defenses can flow together. For example, I could throw jab, cross, and then I could slip, and I could throw another cross, and I could roll, and then I could roll back this way, throw a left hook, throw a right uppercut, and then slip this way, roll this way, left uppercut, so on and so forth. You get the gist. You'll notice throughout that entire combination, even though I just made it up on the spot, my hips are constantly just moving to this position and then back to this position. This gets a little bit complicated when I'm talking about left to right, but what I mean is when I jab, it's a left punch, and then, as I said, it goes from left to right. A right punch would follow. However, if I'm just defending, then I'm slipping to my left, right? But I'm in the hip position where I'll be throwing a right. So that's what I mean when I say left to right. Focus on the rotation of your hips from left to right, as opposed to what defense or punch you're actually throwing. You can also simultaneously use offense and defense in the same movement. For example, I could roll this way whilst also throw a punch with my right hand. So I'm using the rotation of my hips to defend whilst I'm throwing a shot. This is exceptionally useful when we're doing interception counters. So let's say the guy I'm fighting, he goes to throw a right hand. I could roll under his right hand, and as I'm rolling, I can bring up a right uppercut, where he's been left open from him throwing his own right hand. So now we've integrated offense and defense with our feet planted. What about integrating the footwork in between or during these punches or defenses? We want to time the landing of our punch with the landing of the corresponding foot. So if I throw a jab, then as the jab lands, my left foot needs to land. And as my right hand lands, my back foot will land, like that. But you can also make this reversible and do the opposite. I can throw my right hand, and as that lands, my left foot can land too. And then vice versa with the jab and the back foot. And I can move around like that. So you need to play with them and practice. Practice makes perfect, right? So now we know how to punch whilst we're moving, and we also know how to flow our offenses into defenses. We now need to put it all together, and we do this whilst we're shadow boxing. So whilst we're shadow boxing, obviously we're going to be practicing our punching technique, but we're going to be practicing this flow that I was talking about. So everything comes off the rotation of our hips going from left to right. And in between each of these rotations, or even during them, we're going to be moving our feet at the same time. It'll look like this. The more you practice this flow of boxing, the more it will naturally transfer into your fights and sparring. And therefore, you'll be able to do it without really thinking about it. It'll be like muscle memory. The flow of boxing means that you're going to be able to counter your opponents a lot more because you'll be anticipating what they're going to throw. Say if I threw a jab, my hips are this way, I'm going to slip, assume their right hand's coming, and I'm going to throw a left hook. It's all about that rotation of the body. So all of these movements that you're practicing will go into combinations and phases that you'll use in your fights or sparring, and eventually you'll look like that professional flow that you see in the big fights on the telly. One of the main things I want you to concentrate on when you're practicing this flow of boxing from left to right and the rotation is staying on balance. If you're not on balance, then it's going to be a lot harder for your punches and defenses to flow into one another. For example, if I throw a cross and all my weight is brought over onto my front foot, which is obviously wrong, then it's going to take a lot of effort for me to come all the way back here just to slip. We want to keep it all confined, small and fast. So if I keep my weight where it should be, 60% of my weight on the back foot, 40% on the front foot, then I'm in the correct position here to then slip back the other way, and it's going to take a load of time and a load of effort and a load of distance to cover. So when you're practicing this flow of boxing, make sure, as I said, 60% of your weight is on the back foot. You're not fucking up with your feet. You're not like crossing your feet over, or you're not bringing your feet together. You just want to try and maintain that stable stance that we've talked about in other videos. Of course, this isn't going to come overnight, and you're going to have to practice it for a very long time before you'll actually see it pass over into your sparring or fights. But stick with it, and over time you'll get much, much better, especially when you're thinking about the basics whilst practicing stuff like this. For more free videos like this, make sure you join our school community. It's linked in the description. We have already about 200 members in there, and loads of lessons and courses to help you get better at boxing. And eventually, who knows, you could be a professional one day yourself.